Hey everyone, I'm really excited to bring to you guys this new series called My Journey to Medicine. So, I'm going to be starting off the series by talking about my own journey to medicine. All right, so how exactly did I end up at SUNY Downstate? First of all, I am currently a second year MD and PH candidate. So, MD for the Doctorate of Medicine, and then MPH for my master's in public health. So, I'm doing a dual degree program for those of you who did not know. Now you know. And I guess I can start just talking about my journey. Bear with me as I try and recall all of the key, I guess moments during my career of how I ended up here. So I guess I can just start by talking a little bit about undergrad and just how that went for me and how it led to me being here now in medical school. So as a freshman at Hunter College, shout out to all the CUNYs, anyone from a CUNY watching this, there's no shame in going to a CUNY, just so you know. You end up at the same place that those Ivy League students uh, end up at, and you pay less money. So just saying, just putting it out there. I don't know. But anyway, so I went to Hunter, which is in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And I started off as a pre-med student, as many people do. Start off as pre-med students. And by the end of Orgo, you're just there's a lot less people. But anyways, so I was always well, not always, during the later part of my high school career, I was interested in the healthcare field. So I figured, hey, let me give this pre-med thing a shot. I wasn't 100% sure that I actually wanted to do it, but as I started taking classes, I became more intrigued, and ultimately it was my experiences through research, through volunteering, through all of these other things that I did that really got me interested in the healthcare field. I guess more about that in a later video, I guess, of just why medicine in general. But this video, I'm just gonna be focusing of just how it is that I got here. So I did that. And I was just trying to do all the required things I needed to do as a pre-med student. It's crazy. If you don't know, there's just a long list of things you have to do to get to med school, whether it's volunteering, getting recommendation letters, just extracurricular experiences in general, shadowing, and of course doing well in your academics. So being a pre-med student, is no joke for sure. It's a lot of work and it can be stressful sometimes. So I've always been a person, well, not always, I guess I don't know when I became this kind of person, but in undergrad and maybe high school as well, I like to seek out opportunities. So just kind of know what's out there. New York City has so many programs that you can apply to, programs that will pay you to do stuff and pay you to have experiences. I'm all about those programs. So I was looking into programs, just for medical school, things that might help me get into medical school. And I found something called an early acceptance program. So basically what an early acceptance program is, well, I found many early acceptance programs, but basically what an early acceptance program is it's when a medical school tells you as an undergrad student, or in some cases even a high school student, that it's hey, I think you have what it takes to be a doctor, and we want you specifically to come to our med school. We believe in you that much. So these programs exist, and basically in your undergraduate years, you're able to apply, whether it's as a sophomore or a junior. In some cases, I think now even freshmen, as more, there's starting to be more early acceptance programs. And it's basically applying to med school. You're doing your essays, you're getting recommendation letters, you're doing interviews and things like that. And if you get into the early acceptance program, you're just making a commitment to go to that school. Of course, there's conditions hey, you have to finish your undergrad degree, duh. Maybe keep up your grades. Maybe you have to do some kind of community service thing. One huge thing that I think a lot of early acceptance programs have is that, not all of them, but some of them, you do not have to take the Mcat. For those of you who do not know what the Mcat is, It's basically a type of, I guess you can say it's like a type of standardized exam that you would take to get into med school. It's kind of like taking the SAT to go to college, although that in itself is not really, I mean, it still exists, but I know some schools don't even like look at it anymore. So the first early acceptance program I applied to was for Mount Sinai. If you are a sophomore in college or a freshman, please look into this program. It's called Mount Sinai's Flex Med program, and it's everything I just said. So it's an early acceptance program. You apply as a sophomore. I think the deadline is usually like January of your sophomore year, and you kind of go through that process of just like applying to medical school, but specifically to Mount Sinai only. So what year was this? I don't know, like 2018 maybe? Let's just say 2018 until I figure it out. 2018, I'm pretty sure. I applied for this program as a sophomore, and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna get in. I am smart. I have all of these things in like in my pocket, in my belt. Like I've done so much stuff. And I remember when I got rejected from the Flex Med program. I was finishing up, I think it was like Orgo Lab or something like that. And I happened to pull out my phone, and it's funny because it's like when you get emails, like you see the subject line and who it's from, and you also see like maybe a little bit of like the first bit of like the email, but you don't see all of it. So I can't remember like how much of it I actually saw, but I opened it and I was just kind of like, wow, that really hurts. I thought this was like so good. Like I didn't even get an interview, but it's okay. I guess, Flex Med is very competitive. Like I have to acknowledge that. I know it's like maybe thousands of people that apply, just because Mount Sinai opens it up to, I don't know how much people they open it up to, but it's just like, they open it up to a lot of people from like other institutions to apply. So I was kind of feeling down about that, just because I was just kind of so sure of myself. And I know it's kind of just like, relax, Relika, like you're a sophomore, like it's not the end of the world. You still have a lot of time to just apply through the regular cycle. But I have to admit, I was still hurt. Rejection is never fun. But, I talked to my pre-med advisors about it, and they were just like, you know what, there's another early acceptance program that I think you may like. Like, the school itself has values that you value. And that's one thing I would say, like, if you're applying to like certain early acceptance programs, you should be applying to it not just because, oh, I don't want to take the MCAT, oh, I just want to like get into like med school, I don't care what med school I want to get in, or like whatever med school like I go to. It does matter. I thought, and not that I thought, I knew that Mount Sinai had some values, not some. I knew that we shared mutual values in terms of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to bring to the table, what they expected of students to bring to the table. So I think that's why it really hurt, because, if you think you're such a good fit for something and then they tell you that you're not, it's kind of just like, ouch. But anyway, so I applied for a different early acceptance program at Rochester. I can't remember like the name of the college. I want to say like Rochester College of Medicine or something like that. But Rochester here in New York, they have an early acceptance program, which is kind of, from the last that I remember, it's kind of limited in terms of who can apply. You have to go to specific like institutions. And at the time, I think Hunter was the only CUNY, or maybe one of the only CUNYs that they opened it up to. So I applied. This is maybe like June of 2018. And I actually got an interview like later on in the summer. I was just like, ooh, go me. That's really exciting. So I was really excited to go up there and spend, like almost a full day just there, like interviewing, meeting other people, looking at the school. And I thought it was a really good fit. Like, you guys already know, spoiler alert, like I told you I go to SUNY Downstate, so obviously I didn't get into Rochester. And I got the rejection email sometime in October, I think. So I was actually at work. I was doing an internship at like a city agency, and I was leaving for the afternoon because I was trying to get to biochemistry. And I remember getting out of work and just like seeing like the header for the email. Like I knew the email was coming because they were like specifically, it's just like you will get an email from us like on this day or like this day or something like that. And I opened it as I was walking to the train station, and I really couldn't stop myself from crying. Like I was such a mess. I was like on the train trying not to cry, like trying not to be that person on the train who's just like bawling. And I was literally just like like nobody look at me. But it was like a pretty ugly cry. But I just couldn't hold it in, because again, it's just like, how can you reject me? Like, we're such a good, don't you know we're such a good match? Like, reconsider. They didn't reconsider. I didn't ask them to reconsider. But, you know, again, it was just kind of like, rejection stinks. Like, it's hard in the moment, but I learned a lot of things like from that process of just like, again, applying to medical school, you know, getting a chance to review my essays, to edit my essays. That's one piece of advice that I have for like any pre-med student. Like if you're wondering how you can like start preparing for like applying to medical school, I would say the best thing you could do is just start applying for different programs and internships and whatever from your freshman year of undergrad, because you start to answer those questions like, you know, why are you interested in the healthcare field? Why medicine? Who are you as a person? And you get to just build on those essays every single time you apply for anything. So by the time you get to your junior, senior year, it's just like you've looked at the thing so many times, you know who you are, you know your own story. I mean, you know who you are as in like where you are in that moment. Like obviously like you're still growing throughout your entire life. But so yeah, so you really just get to like refine your essay in that way and just become a stronger applicant, honestly. So another aspect of my rejection from Rochester was just that I felt really embarrassed. Like I had this whole team of people behind me who have like helped me in a way, you know. It's just like they've read over my essays, they've given me mock interviews, people wrote recommendation letters for me, like people spent time on me. And when I got rejected, I'm just like, oh, I just felt like I was letting so many people down. Like again, granted, I was a junior at this point, so the summer had passed and I was now technically a junior, still in the year of 2018. But I think that was just kind of hard for me. Of course, like my pre-health advisors were just like, it's okay, like it's fine, it happens. Of course, they've seen like many people like go through like acceptances and rejections, then acceptances, rejections, then acceptances. You know, so it's like they were not like new to the game, but for me, it was definitely hard. So you know, my pre-health advisor was just like, you know what, I think there is a really good program for you that you really are a good fit for. And I was just like, I was a good fit for the others as well. But I didn't get into the others. So it's kind of like, you know, suck it up and move on in a way. But it was actually an early acceptance program basically at SUNY Downstate. So it's called the Early Medical Education Program. And basically what it does is it helps people of minority and underserved status get into med school. So I applied for the program. Well, first of all, I had to do my research about SUNY Downstate, because when she said SUNY Downstate, I looked at her like, what is that? Basically, as a Hunter College student, at least like in my group of friends, in where I was like at the time, the biggest institutions we were concerned with in terms of like med school wise was, you know, NYU, Columbia, maybe like Albert Einstein. Did I say Cornell? Cornell and Mount Sinai, because those were things like in Manhattan, and then like Albert Einstein was like in the Bronx, and we would get emails from them about like different opportunities all the time. Like maybe once I saw a SUNY Downstate, but I was just like, Brooklyn, SUNY Downstate, who would have thought? I was like, what? So anyway, I had to do research on the school, and I found out that, hey, like their values are my values. They have an MPH program. They are strong advocates of public health, of just serving underserved communities. And more than that, like the location of downstate itself is in an underserved, disadvantaged community. So after like looking at some other stuff, I was like, I think this is like a great place that I want to be at. I want to continue to explore health disparities while I am at downstate. So I went ahead and applied for the program. So I'm applying as a junior. I think I submitted my application like January of 2019, if anyone is like interested. And I ended up getting an interview March of 2019 now. I'm still in my junior year. And I went to the interview. I felt really good about that interview, honestly. I felt like I really clicked with the interviewer, so to speak, or interviewers, because there was more than one. And I ended up getting accepted to the program in April of my junior year, which is really exciting. I was actually like at my internship at the city agency I was at, and I opened my email, and it was funny because it's like, again, I saw like the subject line, and this one they didn't put like a body of just like congratulations or you've been rejected. Like it was like a PDF, and I had to open the PDF to like see whether I was rejected or accepted or not. So that was probably like one of the highlights of my undergrad career, just like finally feeling like I've made it. And in the case of SUNY Downstate, like their early acceptance program, you actually have to take the MCAT, which I knew before I applied for the program, but I was kind of like, you know what, like I should not be scared of a standardized exam. Like they clearly say here they're going to help me, they're going to give me resources so that I can study for the MCAT, and I'll be fine. I'll be with a cohort of other people, like we're all going to be in it together. I can do this. So that summer after my junior year, I literally spent like every day at downstate going through this program, just like preparing for the MCAT, like studying for the MCAT. Like the MCAT is no joke, no joke, no joke. I was worried about the SAT. Not the MCAT was definitely a beast. Not an easy exam to study for, especially in like just a short amount of time. So I spent the summer studying for the MCAT, and then I took it maybe like mid-August. And after I took it, I was like completely exhausted. I was also like working for like some of the summer as well, outside of like just like studying, which just kind of like added more stress to the situation. Even though I loved the work that I did, it was definitely like tough to balance everything. But I took it. I passed out afterwards, basically. No, like I went on vacation afterwards. I enjoyed myself, came back, started my senior year of college. Hey. And eventually I got back my Mcat score. Like you usually get your Mcat score like a month after or something like that, 30 days after you take the Mcat. So got my score, and so basically like you need to get a certain score in order to maintain your, your acceptance to downstate. That's how that program works. And I had never gotten the score that I needed for the biochem section. So for those of you who don't know about the MCAT, basically it's like there's 4 sections on the MCAT, and one is chemistry and physics, and I think sometimes they have biochemistry in that as well. And then the other one is critical reading. The third one is biology and biochemistry, hence biochem. And then the last one is psych-soc, which stands for psychology and sociology. And literally it just, everything I just said, they test you on those specific things, from things that you would have learned in your undergraduate career in order to matriculate into med school. So you need a really good score in order to be competitive, so to speak, and go to the school that you want to go to, and also just get accepted in general. But sometimes people get a good score and they still don't get accepted. But maybe more on that on like a later video. So I was really excited to see that I got the score in all of the categories that I was supposed to get the score in. And I don't know, I was just like, at that moment, well, first of all, I was at work. I was doing research in my lab, and it was lunchtime when I checked. I was like, I'm just gonna get it over with. I'm just gonna check. And it just felt like all of the rejections they just didn't matter anymore. You know, I guess from that experience, I learned that just because it seems like a door has closed for you, like it doesn't mean there isn't a door that's still open for you. Like when I look back, I'm just like, Rochester, Mount Sinai, those places were never meant to be. It was always supposed to be downstate, and it just kind of took me a while to get there. So from that experience, I learned that rejection is okay. It's still gonna hurt. Like, believe me, maybe it'll hurt a little bit less as time goes on. But at the end of the day, like, I just personally always have to believe, like, what is for me, no one can take that away from me. Like, it'll always be there for me. Um, and I just have to do my best to keep, moving forward so that I don't miss that opportunity. So basically, everything was solidified. Um, and I just needed to, like, maintain my grades and make sure that, like, I graduated on time and things like that. And like, I was going to downstate, like, point blank. This was my senior year when I got my like official, like, like when I got my Mcat score. So I was accepted as a junior. I think I was like 20 at the time. And then when I was 21, I was just like, okay, for sure I am going to downstate. Like, I already know. Pretty cool thing to know at 21 years old / like 20 years old. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing my MD MPH here at downstate. And all I have to say is, even like as I'm telling the story now, I'm just like, I just told it very quickly, but there was a lot of things that kind of just like went into me getting into med school, coming to med school. There's a lot of things going into keeping me in med school. But all I have to say is that for everyone that I've spoken to, like, no one's journey is the same. Like, we all come from different family backgrounds, family structures, went to different undergrad institutions, had different extracurricular opportunities, all of this kind of stuff. And all I have to say is, for anyone watching this, whether you're a pre-med student or I don't know, another type of student, like you don't even care to go to med school, or maybe you're like the parent of a pre-med student or just like a med student in general. First of all, know that there's a lot of work that goes into getting into med school or any kind of like professional degree program. And also know that everyone has their own journey. Like, parents, please do not like force your kids to go straight into med school from undergrad. It's a cool thing to do, but there's pros and cons to everything. There's pros and cons to going straight in. There's pros and cons to taking a few years off. And it's not like you're just taking a few years off and doing nothing. You know what I mean? It's just like, usually people are doing other things. All I have to say is pace yourself and just know that it's your story, and it's a beautiful story that you get to write and that you will get to share with someone one day. So thanks for listening, and that's my journey to medicine.